Hi there and welcome. My name is Trent and this is Practice Makes Better Music. Today I'm going to show you an arrangement of the song How Deep Is Your Love, which is originally by the Bee Gees. I made an arrangement that's kind of a compilation of the Bee Gees' original version with a version by PJ Morton, which is more of a soul version where he changes the harmony a little bit. So I've taken a little bit from each of those versions and turned them into a chord melody that I want to show you and that I think you might enjoy playing. It's a really pretty song, so I think you might enjoy this. At the end of the video, I've got two different practice along videos at two different speeds, a slower one and then one that's at the full speed of the PJ Morton version, which is a little slower than the Bee Gees version, but like I said, a little more soulful. So I hope you enjoy. I'm going to dive in now to just talking through the chords, and my hope is that by learning this, you might be able to, enjoyably play a great song with a beautiful melody, but also you might learn something about how I approach creating chord melodies. Without further ado, I'm going to just start right at the beginning. So it's going to begin here at the 3rd fret of the 3rd string. And I'm thinking of this is the 5th of an E flat chord. It's a B flat note. And I'm going from the 5 up to the 1. So I'm going. That's the first bit. And I'm here, I go from B flat, E flat, F, and then I'm going to be barring to play an E flat major 7 chord at the 6th fret of the 5th string. That's my root note. And what I'm going to do with my bar is I'm going to play the chord up to the 2nd string, and then I'm hammering on from an F into a G. And so then from there my melody continues. I'm going to slide down to F, E flat, and then I'm going to hit a G7 chord with the F, the 7 at the top. That's my melody note. Then, once I hit that melody note, my first finger is barred across the 3rd fret. Then I'm going to play the 1st string at the 3rd fret because I've got that finger covering it. And then I resolve to that note, E flat, while I hit a C minor 7 chord. So from the beginning. And notice when I hit that E flat note on my C minor 7 chord, I'm not actually strumming the whole chord, I'm just playing the melody note. And then I'm just going up, starting from the C, I'm playing through the next 3, the 5th string, the 4th string, and then the 3rd string to create some motion there on this C minor chord. So next, I'm going to do a walk up from C. I'm going from a C minor 7 to kind of a C major shape, but instead of a full triad or 7th chord, I'm just going to be playing what you could call a wide interval or a spread interval. And this is just the interval of a 10th, which is the exact same as a 3rd, a major 3rd, just with an additional octave in between those two notes. So I'm just going to go here. I'm playing 3rd fret on the 5th string, 5th fret on the 2nd string. Then I'm going to go up, and notice how I collapse my shape slightly. I go from a spread of 2 frets in between, and I'm on the 5th string and the 2nd string, so I'm 2 frets apart, 3rd fret and 5th fret, and then when I go up, I'm going to move my lower note C up to D, a whole step up, so I go 2 frets, and then here I'm moving my E up to an F. So now my shape is a little closer together, and I'm going up another whole step. And this is going to bring me from my C minor chord that I was on, and then I switch it to a C major type walk up, and then I'm gonna go up to my F minor 7 at the 8th fret of the 5th string is my root note. So I'm going. So Now I'm doing a similar motion on this F minor 7 chord that I did at the beginning for the E flat major 7. You notice that? I'm going from the second of the chord to the third. Same thing I'm doing here. So from the beginning, my little walk up. So that's where we're at. So now after I do that, so I'm playing the melody. When I get here, 1 and 2, and on that 2, I'm going to strum again. And I'm just strumming the second, third, and fourth strings. I'm not strumming the whole chord because I think it sounds repetitive to repeat that bass note there, but I'm just doing it like this. So notice I'm not repeating that bass note on the bottom. And then after I do that, then I'm going to bar my first finger at the 8th fret, and I'm going to hit the middle 4 strings, so string 5, 4, 3, and 2, with my finger barred here. And notice how I hammered on the bottom this time rather than the top, but it's actually the same note relative to the chord that I did before. It's F to G for the E flat chord, or the 2 to the 3. Here I've got it on top of a E flat major 7, like at the beginning. But here later in the tune, I'm gonna hit this one. So later in this verse, I'm hitting the same chord, E flat, except this one is a triad, not a major 7. And instead of having the 2 going to 3 at the top for the melody, I'm going to actually do it on bottom. So notice how after my walk up from C, I do my E flat in first inversion, so I'm hammering on from that F into the G on the bottom. My melody is on the second string. And then after this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my pinky to play the F on the second string, 6th fret, while I take my time to get into position for this chord. And this is a B flat root note with an F minor triad on top. Another way of thinking about it is like a B flat 9 with no third. It's the same thing, just described slightly differently. But what I'm doing here is it's kind of a suspended chord resolving. I'm going to go from the walk up on C. So notice how I'm playing the melody note there with my pinky so that I can reach these notes. I'm hitting the bass note, hitting the 2 middle notes. I've let go of my melody note there, and that's because I want to use my pinky to go to the 3rd string. So moving on. So that's an E flat major 7 again. My melody goes from the 3 of E flat. This is a G note, G, A flat, to that B flat on top. This time I'm going to be making sure I'm barring strongly with my first finger at the 6th fret, because I'm going to be needing to play the E flat note on bottom as well as the B flat melody note on top, both with my first finger. So I go. So notice how I hit the 3 melody notes, then beat 1. So that's and 4 and 1 and 2 and. So I'm going 1 and I'm hitting the 5th string, 4th string, and then I'm hitting those 3 together. G minor, full G minor bar chord. The only difference being that your pinky is going to be on the flat 3 of the G chord, B flat or the 6th fret on the 1st string. That's your melody note. So it's just exactly a G minor bar chord. Type 1 is what I call it. I think that's the standard name when it's based off of an E chord. It's based off of E minor. But what I'm doing here, barring with my first finger all the way across all 6 strings, my 3rd finger is hitting both the 5th and the 4th strings at the 5th fret. This is something that's really easy for my hands, but maybe your hands, well, clearly your hands are going to be different than mine. Maybe that's not easy to do. If that isn't, you could try doing this fingering, where I've got 2 fingers playing those notes, but the way that I play it almost always is with 1 finger smashed right in the middle of those 2 strings at that fret. And because I have kind of like, you know, I don't know, they're kind of wide fingers, maybe they're a little chubby, it works in my favor for barring at least. So anyway, so I've got this G minor bar chord with the B flat on the top, highest note. Then I'm going to go to a C minor 7. This time, instead of doing the regular type 2 bar chord minor 7 based off of your A minor shape, I'm going to put my pinky up here at the 1st string on the 6th fret, because that's where my melody note remains after this G minor chord. So it stays the same. So notice how I'm holding that B flat. I'm holding that B flat after I strum that C minor chord. And then I'm coming down with the melody. It says B flat, G, F, E flat. Then I'm going to play the root note, and then the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings. Then I'm gonna move my melody note from E flat up to F on the 2nd string, and then without changing my chord or strumming again. And this is a diminished chord, and I'm thinking of this as an E diminished because my lowest note here is E on the 5th string. So I've got the 7th fret on the 5th string, 8th fret on the 4th string, 6th fret on the 3rd string, and 8th fret on the 2nd string. If you're not familiar with this shape, it's a fully diminished 7th chord, and they're very cool chords because you can invert them without changing the shape, which makes it really easy to invert them. Anyway, so this is an E diminished, so I'm going from here. Notice how that's what we call a passing chord. It's not a strong chord that's staying there. You know, the melody isn't staying there for a long time. It's just a passing chord bringing us to the next note or the next chord, which is, again, F minor 7. And this time our melody note's on the 2nd string. And I'm going to repeat that note 4 times. So on the first time I strum my F minor 7 chord. And I play that note 4 times, and then I'm going to go to this chord. And this is a really beautiful chord, at least I think so. I think of it as an F minor 11 with, instead of an F note in the bass, it's got a C note in the bass. So that's the 5th of the chord. So normally an F minor 11 in this position would be like this. But I've moved this F note down to the C because it feels to me like it creates some nice movement. We're going down to B flat next. And so those 2 chords share a lot of notes. So we go from the F minor 7 here to this voicing, where I've got my first finger barred across 4 strings, these 2 here, and then my 2nd finger all the way down on the C. And then I'm going to go, my melody note's on the 1st string, and then it goes to the 2nd string, and then my chord changes. And this time I'm going to be playing this version of B flat 7. This is the flat 7 with a suspended 4 and a 13. So I call this B flat 13 sus. And we're going to be resolving this from the 13. The melody goes from the 13, this note. 13 is also the same as the 6. We go from the 6 down to the 5, and then our 4 is going to also resolve down to the 3. So I'll go from the F minor 7. So I'm going to go back from the beginning of the tune to that point. So 1, 2, 3. That's the entire A section, I guess you could say. The next section, to me, sounds like kind of a pre-chorus. I call it the B section. It's marked as B on the sheet music. And it begins on an A flat major 7. And so we're coming from this chord. Our melody goes down to the E flat and then jumps up a major 6th to the same fret, the 8th fret on the 1st string. And what I'm doing here is I'm running a little bit of a bass line just for this one chord. I thought that it sounded really nice to do this pattern. So obviously, I don't know, maybe not obviously. My right hand, I am using some hybrid picking here. If you're not comfortable with hybrid picking, there are ways you can probably figure out a way to do this without, but I would encourage you just to try it. If nowhere else in the song, right here is a poster child for hybrid picking. So what you're going to do is use a finger and your pick at the same time. I use my pinky. So notice I'm playing with my pinky on that melody note 3 times. It happens first on the and of 4, the measure preceding. So 3, 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 1, and 2, and 3. It's a little bit of a funny rhythm. Maybe practice it like that a few times. Loop it. 3, 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 1, and 2, and 3. Okay, so moving on. This is an A major 7 here. An A flat major 7 with my root on the 4th string on the 6th fret. Then I'm barred at the 8th fret of the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd strings. Then I'm going to bar with my 1st finger to cover the 2nd and 1st strings while keeping my 3rd finger at the 8th fret of the 3rd string. And my melody note is going to be on the 1st string going from the 6th fret to the 8th fret. So that's B flat to C. So from here. So notice how my melody stays here. I strum that A flat major 7. I go to the A flat major 6, 9. With that 9 being where my melody is sitting for a moment. Go back up to the C. Then here I'm going to slide my pinky all the way up to the, that's the 13th fret of the 1st string. And this is an F note. And my chord is a G minor 7. So, let's see, from... So I'm playing that melody note. And that's on the end of 4. And 1, and 2, and. So, and 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 2, and 3. So, and 4, and 1, and. So from here, we go down a whole step. It's the same chord shape. When the melody goes back on this last note, I'm going to the C on the 6th string as my root note to kind of create some root motion. And I'm hybrid picking that last chord because I want the root note and then the top 3 strings, or the top 4. You can just strum the whole thing if that works better. And then I'm going to the top 3 notes of an F minor 9 chord. This is an F minor 9, kind of like that chord we did earlier, but I'm just playing these 2 notes, or 3 notes, excuse me. A melody note being the top note that's on the 2nd string. So, and then I'm going to a D flat 13. So D flat is at the 9th fret of the 6th string. We've got the 9th fret of the 4th string, the 10th fret of the 3rd string, and the 11th fret of the 2nd string. My melody note is the 13 that's on the top there. So I'm going from sliding down a minor 3rd, and then I'm landing. I'm going down a minor 3rd, another whole step, and then landing at the top note. It's E flat, and that's a 9. This is a D flat 9 chord. So that 9 is E flat on top. That's our melody note. So back from the beginning of this section, from the B section, which starts at that A flat major chord. Then it goes back to that G minor. Our melody note is on the 3rd fret of the 1st string. And then it goes up to the 6th fret. And I'm not repeating any of the notes of the chord. I'm just strumming the whole chord on the first beat. 1 and 2. And then this next bit is not really a chord shape. It's a walking bass line with a melody line that we're going to do to bring us into the chorus. So the walking bass line is it's just from G, A flat, A, B flat on the 5th string, starting at the 10th fret, moving up chromatically. Our melody note is going to start on C, and then it's going to go C, E flat, E flat. And then when we hit that B flat, we're going to go up to the next chord. So I'll show you how it goes. So that wasn't very good. Let me try it again. So here I have these 2 notes together. This is a G and this is a C. And I'm hybrid picking this again. I don't really know how you could do it without either finger picking or hybrid picking it. And then I go up to the E flat on the top string, while I go to A flat on the 5th string. And then I remain on E flat on top while I move up another half step to A on the 5th string. And then I'm going to bar at the 13th fret to make a B flat 13 sus. And this is just barred across the 13th fret of 5 strings 5 through 1, and then hammering on into the 15th fret, which is our melody note, that G on top. So from the G minor down here, here's my walk up. Got a little root B flat in there that I added. You'll hear that on the recording, and then it goes into the chorus. So the pickup to the chorus is right up here with some sixths going from G on top to E flat on top. And this is where the hook of the song comes, How Deep Is Your Love. In the Bee Gees version, the melody doesn't go down like this, but in the PJ Morton version, it does, and I kind of like how that goes. So now I'm going to go into the chorus. We're getting there, so you're doing great. Let me take it from the A flat major at the beginning of the B section and go all the way into the chorus. So notice after I did this, how deep is your love? I'm jumping right back down to this E flat here. And this is what I'm going to do for the beginning of the chorus here. This is a weird chord. It's mainly because of the way that this cliche works, this line that's going down from the root, do 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 do. It puts me in a bit of a weird spot to grab this, but what I've got here is an E flat at the 5th string, 6th fret. I've got a B flat at the 4th string at the 8th fret. I've got a D, the major 7, on the 3rd string at the 7th fret, and then I've got my E flat at the 2nd string, 4th fret. So this is a bit of a reach, but this is going to get you the rest of the way through the beginning of this chorus. So once I hit that, I'm going to jump down, and I'm going to immediately go into my pattern. 1, 5, 1, major 7. Then I'm adding the 1 in there, the 6, keeping the 1 for rhythm, 5. So let me do that again. So that pattern, I'm alternating the root note to keep the rhythmic flow moving forward, and then I'm doing that descending melody that you hear in what is normally kind of the background vocal part. And then when it descends the second time, I'm landing on an E flat 7 chord. And then to move on, I'm going to go to A flat major 7, and because the way the melody is, it's not going to look exactly like this chord shape, but this is the basic chord shape that I'm kind of basing this melody around. So I'm starting in this chord shape. I've got my 1, my major 7, my 3, and my 5 on top. I'm going to be going from the 2 to the 3 to begin with the melody, and then up to the 5. So I'm holding the root in the major 7, hitting the 2 or the 9, going into the 3, and then up to the 5. And then I'm sliding into another position of A flat major, major 7. Just this is the same voicing that we used earlier here, where I was borrowing the whole thing, except this time we're not going to play the 1st string. So our melody is at the major 7, and that's going to be at the 2nd string at the 8th fret. So here we go. And then the most kind of dissonant sounding chord of this entire piece is this one. And this is a D flat 9 with a sharp 11 on top. So I'm barring my 1st finger across the 8th fret, and then I've got my 2nd finger at the 6th string, 9th fret, and my 3rd finger at the 4th string at the 9th fret. And I'm just not playing the 1st string. I'm playing all the other strings. And I'm going to need to this top note, the sharp 11. The sharp 11 is my melody, and I'm going to need to then use my pinky to play the 3rd of the chord where the melody goes next, and then I go into just a fragment of that chord. I'm just playing an augmented triad here because that gives me kind of the tonality of that chord that I just played. I go up with the melody onto the A flat, and then I'm going to go back, and we're kind of on the home stretch here, so stay with me. We're on an E flat major 7 with our melody on the 5 way at the top. And the way I'm doing this is not how I just played it. It's slightly different. So notice I strum on the 1, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. So I'm strumming on the 1 and the 3, the full chord. 1 and 2 and 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And then instead of my melody note going back to this B flat, which would be easier, I'm actually going to slide to this B flat because what's coming next is this chord, which is a D flat 6. And this B flat is the 6 of a D flat chord. So it goes. And at the beginning of that, I'm not playing the full chord, I'm playing the melody note and then playing the other notes, 6th string, 4th string, 3rd string. And then I'm going to strum the whole thing. And this is a weird bar. So I got to play, so here's what I'm thinking. I've got this chord, it's a D flat 6 chord. My melody note is on B flat, it goes to C next. I mean, I could stretch like that, but the way I'm doing it is actually, to me, easier. If it's harder for you, try a different way. But what I'm doing is I've got my first finger playing the D flat down here, and I'm playing these 3 notes. Well, naturally, my first finger ends up, when I'm doing a chord like this, or this specific chord, it ends up at an angle. So notice how it's angled backwards. I'm not totally flat with this 1 fret. I've got 2 frets that I'm touching with this finger. So I can do this little magical thing where you have a little bit of a bar, but you're curving so that you're just hitting the front and the back. It doesn't, the top and the bottom, I guess you could say. But watch this. Notice how I'm holding that note, the 8th fret, on the 1st string with my first finger. So my first finger is holding 2 notes. It's holding the 6th string. It's holding this D flat and a C on the 1st string. And so I've got to go B flat with my melody note, B flat on the 2nd string, C, then D flat. And I've got to use my 2nd finger for that. And then my B flat stays and my bar straightens out so that I'm on a C7 here. So so what I'm doing from the D flat 6 is going back to that B flat and then playing the rest of the notes, the 6th string, 4th string, 3rd string, 6th string. So we're so close. So from there, my melody goes B flat, C, and then D flat. And what I got to do here is form a C7 with a flat 9. And this is the same exact thing as a diminished, fully diminished chord off of the D flat. Or any of these notes could be the root of it. But it functions as a C7 with a flat 9. The melody is of the flat 9. So you're going to be doing... Okay, so moving on. This is an F minor 7. I'm just doing a broken picking of it. Whoops. bend is just going F minor 7 to A flat minor 6 to E flat major 7. And that's it. So if you enjoyed this, please check out my site, practicemakesbettermusic.com. I've got a free course called Pentatonic Pathways that I want to give you. You can just sign up with your email address and you can jump into that video course, which is a series of exercises and lessons to help you go further with your soloing and your understanding of how the fretboard connects with itself, and how you can be more fluid with your transitions between different areas of the guitar. So that's available at practicemakesbettermusic.com. Now I've got the practice along portion, so if you want to practice along and work up this chord melody, you can follow along with the practice along portion coming next. And until next time, I appreciate all the support and I hope to see you in the next video. Have a good day.